How to flip a house with no experience. This one is so key because if I started this wrong, I wouldn't be flipping real estate today. In today's episode, what we're going to go over is the number one thing that I first learned and still use today in house flipping. And then I'm going to go over the importance of saving as much money as you can by sticking to the timelines. So lastly, we're going to go over our ninja tips on how to find and evaluate the right contractor. So obviously with no experience, when I first got started, I had my mentor was Carl. Carl went through and taught me so many different things that I did not know. And you just don't know until you do your first flip. So having a good partner or mentor is key. Figuring this out on your own is going, like some people are like, I don't want to partner with anybody. I want to keep all the money myself. That's fine, but no, there's going to be things that are going to cost you money that person may already know. They've already experienced it. And that was the case for me. I learned so much from this successful real estate investor. He literally passed on that knowledge. I ended up splitting the deals with him, but I wouldn't be here today if I didn't do that. There's different ways to structure deals with mentors. You could pay for mentorship, or you could partner with them. They could take a piece of the profit. I like to make sure that people are working with, especially when I got started, they would work with me along the way, not just like, here's the information or whatever. The other thing you want to make sure is that the people that you're taking advice from are actually doing deals. It's important because it's not just textbook theory. This is a market. Real estate is a moving market. It's always moving. I say if the person that you're taking advice from is not doing real estate, you should probably not listen to them. One of the things with no experience I recommend for everybody to do is there's local meetups in every area of the country. So reia.org is one of those places that you could go to. It's in your town. They're once a month meetups, but you could get some experience, you could get some networking. You have to network in this business. You have to learn the terminology, you have to know contractors, you have to know what's trending in your market currently, you have to know realtors that they're gonna be able to bring you deals. This is a relationship-based business. The better you are at relationships, the more money you're going to make. You have to get out of your comfort zone though. The first thing I tell people when they very first get started in real estate is go to a meetup group, network, meet people. Guess what? It's uncomfortable. It's okay. This is a first step. You want to get out of your comfort zone. This is an action item for you. What I look for, because I still have mentors today that are doing bigger stuff than myself. So what I look at is what have they done and what are they doing? Like what's their portfolio? Where did they come from? How long have they been doing it? These are things that you want to know. You need to ask these questions. I don't necessarily think that people need to ask for checks, right? But you could see what people buy properties for, and you could see what people sell properties for, and you could see how many properties people have going. If you didn't want to necessarily do that and they're on Instagram, I always say this. If you see someone on social media and they're like in real estate, but they don't show you real estate projects, it's kind of like maybe you should think about who you're taking advice from, especially if they're only showing you cars, the flashy stuff. To me, we don't get into any of that. I love what I do, so I love to show the projects that we're doing. And if a person's like, hey, I don't show that anymore, or are they passionate about what they do? And if they're not, should they be your mentor? We're going to talk about numbers again. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to know your numbers backwards and forwards. One, just so you know how to underwrite the deal and understand where your profit's coming from and if you're cutting into it. But two, the better that you know it and the better that you know how to underwrite deals, the more you could speak to it with confidence when dealing with lenders or partners. So just real quick, what you want to know on those is you want to know your acquisition price or cost, your rehab costs, your holding costs, closing, all right, your profit margin, and your ARV after repair value. Those are the things that you're going to use to calculate or back into this deal or underwrite it. Do me a favor. If you know somebody that's looking to get into real estate right now and they have no experience, share this with them. Share this link with them. So timelines, they're so important. They're just as important as the budget, right? I like to have a little bit of fun with the timeline. Sometimes I like to pretend I'm on a TV show, flipping a house. So I try to get it done as fast as possible. Getting your tradespeople in and getting them in and out as fast as possible. Yes, there is a certain sequence in that you want to have your tradespeople come in, but they don't need to be in there just one at a time. I think a lot of people make that mistake. You could get people in there, multiple people in there at a time. Timelines are critical. And the reason why is, remember that budget that we figured out? There was a timeline in there. That's your holding costs. You want to make sure that things are moving at the pace you've calculated so you don't lose money. If you exceed the timelines, you're going to be getting into and digging into your own pockets because that's costing you money. Time is money. So the timeline, the faster that you could get people in, and the faster out, the more money you get to keep. It's okay to incentivize your contractors financially to finish the job early. It's something that I recommend, but also if you're going to do that, penalize them if they don't. One of the critical things with timelines is this as well. Like the market, you never know what it's going to do. Right now, people are speculating that the market could move in one direction or the other. If you're doing additions and doing all these different things, you have to account for what's happening in your market, whether it's moving up or down and what it's going to do. In uncertain times, you want to get in and out as fast as possible. So that timeline is critical. Stick with the timeline. Otherwise, it's going to cost you money, and it could cost you really big money if you let it get away. Budgets and bids. Getting your budget tight and in order is important. This is where I see so many people, and I'm guilty of it too, where we kind of end up off budget. The difference is like when you first get started, you want to make sure that you're sticking with your budget. One of the very first things I ever learned in real estate was to never get emotionally attached to a project. What does that mean? That means I start to get too personal on all the different items that I need to get in there. This is a business. You want to get in and out. You want to know what's selling. Sometimes I see people, the color palettes that are moving, they go against the grain and they do something totally different that we haven't seen anybody do. And guess what? Typically that stuff doesn't move. Look at what's moving in your area. What is selling? Find those things and put those in your flip. Listen, you want to buy your own personal house and do these things, these personal touches, do it at your personal house, but don't do it on investment properties. This is a business, folks. You got to become emotionally detached from the property. This is a business. Keep that in mind. First rule I ever learned in real estate. Here's the thing with the budget. It's very often that there's unforeseen things that happen on a project where it goes over budget. Very seldomly do you find the wins to make it go under. So when you start looking at flooring and maybe you budgeted $4 a foot, and maybe it's, hey, this is only $5. It's only $1 more. You keep doing those little things, they're going to end up costing you. It's death by 1,000 lashes is what I call it. So make sure you stick with your budget. When you can, stay under, okay? Because you're going to run into the unforeseen. When you're new, I highly recommend you hire a general contractor or a GC. It's important because these people have been there, they've done it. You could shadow them. There's a couple people I know that have actually gone through and meet with the tradespeople after and get shown exactly how and what they're doing. This is something that you could do as well. When hiring a contractor though, make sure in your contract you spell things out specifically, what they're responsible for, what they're covering, more importantly, what they're not covering. You want the exclusion so then they don't say later, oh, that's not included. Well, is it in the not included items? Okay, these are things that you want to pay attention to. Is your contractor actually licensed, and is his license in good standing? You could check this with the state board. These are easy things to do. I would recommend always making sure that your contractor is a licensed contractor indeed. They're licensed, insured, bonded, and in good standing. The other thing that I think you should ask for is their current projects they're working on. You want to go see what kind of quality of work that they're doing or lack of quality. Maybe that's not the kind of product you want in your house. I've done it often, especially investing out of state. I like to see what kind of work that person does. Finished carpentry is critical when flipping a house. So you want to make sure their finishing touches are on point. Other things that you should be talking to or asking your contractor for are referrals. Get the last 3 properties that person's done and ask them how their experience was with that contractor. This is critical. They won't find it offensive, and if they do, you probably don't want to work with that contractor. Listen, those are red flags. You need to ask. These are tough questions, and I know as a new investor, you feel like you might be infringing on them. Don't. This is your money. This is your time. This is your effort. This is your opportunity, not theirs. So as far as responsibilities go, you want to be able to map that out and determine like who's responsible for what. You're the owner, so are you responsible for materials or at least identifying these materials to give to your contractor? Did he give you a budget? Do you have a partner? Is that partner's responsibility those? You know, who's managing the timeline? Who's managing the products? Who's managing the money? These are all things that need to be spelled out. Also, as far as responsibilities go, you may want to identify the realtor that you're going to use early on in this because they're going to come by and check on that property for you. It's an extra set of eyes. They have some experience to know what to look for from a buyer's side. So make sure that you're utilizing them. One key thing that I do it on all my properties. I bring in a designer just to walk the property and tell me what they see. I'm not asking them to do a full set of plans, but I want another set of eyes because maybe they're seeing something that I'm not, or they're seeing something the contractor's not. Typically, their eye is trained from aesthetics. When someone walks into the house, they're buying based off emotion, right? So you want to make sure that you're bringing in someone with that kind of eye to help you sell this house fast. Oftentimes when I tell people, hey, you think you're going to rehab a house, you're actually rehabbing the way that you think. You end up with so many extra tools. You end up as a different person. Just like that house is different from the start to the finish, you're a different person from the start to the finish. It's a great transformation. It's going to challenge you in many different areas, but you're going to be so thankful when it's all said and done. If you like this video, you're going to want to check out how to determine if this house is worth flipping.